Hey guys, DarkSydePhil here. I know we kind of fell off the wagon for a little bit, but you know what? Life happens. Either way, we're back, and a lot has happened to our little pig champ since we've been away. So why not waddle down memory lane and catch up on what became of the farm? After all, it's been 4 months. I'm sure something interesting had to happen, right?
Well, sadly, a lot of these fans are starting to die. Okay? I can already tell you, the one on the back died, the 2 fans on the right-hand side died, one of the fans on the left-hand side died, and one of the fans on the processor thing died. So they're all died. It's 10 years. They don't last forever. The bearings wear out, right? Not going to rotate forever. So, being that half these fans are dying out, other half are still working fine, by the way. I'm wondering, what's going to happen with all the temperatures on this PC, okay? So, I actually got a program that's supposed to read the temperatures of everything in your PC, right? Yes, I know I can buy replacement fans. I'm well aware of that, okay? But since this has all been happening recently, I said the last 2-3 months, a lot of them have been dying. And I'm like, okay, let's see how this is going to affect stuff.
I haven't even watched this DSP video yet, but I can already see exactly how this is going to play out. DSP's PC has a few fans on the fritz, and naturally this is going to be the biggest tech disaster in history. But only until a new donation-funded gaming rig lands at his doorstep. Mark my words. He will swear up and down that he's not asking for help, that he can totally manage on his own, and the dents will rally to send him a machine anyway. It's textbook Phil, really, claiming he doesn't know what's going to happen with all these temperatures when he's just waiting for the inevitable parade of pity dollars to come rolling in.
As I am sure I've mentioned many times in the past, I call myself DarkSydePhil because I am actually a software engineer by trade. We have a term for what we're witnessing here: ignorance of the highest magnitude. Since DSP makes his living on the internet and using computers, you'd think it would behoove him to at least learn a little bit of how these devices work. Indeed, it would be to his benefit to understand how these things work and how to care for them. However, what do we see here? He's referencing the right-hand side fan as if anybody is supposed to know what the hell that's supposed to mean. He refers to the fans on the processor thing dying. What processor? The CPU? The GPU? These are both processors. He's explaining this like a Susan working at a call center, the kind of person who goes into an interview and answers the question of what kind of computer do you have with a PC?
I'd agree with this, but then again, Susan at the call center actually bothers to memorize the script rather than fumbling through her workday like a headless chicken. Well, good on ya, Susan.
Furthermore, he's also bragged many times in the past that he used to build PCs. He said he used to be one of us, and over a decade later he somehow forgot the purpose of a fan, how it regulates airflow and temperature inside of a case, and what the repercussions will be. I honestly have no words for this aside from how did you make it this far, and who do I blame for not allowing you to fail?
So I got this testing program, what's the heat of everything? And I open it up, and it says, get this, it says, your GPU, which is my graphics card, is 58 degrees Celsius. So I looked that up immediately, and I'm like, so that's a little bit on the warm side, but that's not awful. Like, it's not burning up, it's just kind of warm, okay? Then I looked at the processor, and this program tells me, you ready for this? Your processor is running at 128 degrees Celsius. So apparently my processor is sitting inside of a volcano. Like, what? 100... At first, I actually freaked out. I was like, oh shit, is my processor about to melt and explode? Because, I'm not a techie guy these days anymore. I used to be, but I'm not anymore.
Believe it or not, when we write these scripts, we're reacting as we watch the video. I know I just mentioned his prior bragging of being one of us, but I swear to God that was a prophetic vision I just had. Or maybe I'm just used to his constant backpedaling and retroactive rewrite of history. Regardless, just listen to the way he's explaining this. He's framing it as if he's diagnosing a car that sporadically turns off on the highway. He's basically begging for a new computer, when he could just spend maybe $60 and get a Noctua for his CPU. This isn't tech illiteracy, it's just, I don't even know. What do you call it when you're purposely, willfully stupid at damn near everything you do? Oh yeah, we call that being DSP, never mind.
I was just nodding along with Phil's slight, oh no, the GPU's a little warm spiel, thinking maybe he'd got a handle on this tech issue, but then he just casually drops that his CPU's running at over 120 degrees. I mean, I did a mental triple take there, to be honest. Does he think that's a normal temperature? I mean, that's not a little warm. That's your CPU is basically a brick of molten silicon warm. Even if you're not up to date with the latest tech, and I'll admit, I fell off the upgrade wagon long ago despite my current Mechanicus aesthetics, certain basics haven't changed in decades. Air goes in cool, goes out hot. And the best part? Basic replacement fans are cheap as dirt, but doing the bare minimum means taking some initiative and maybe even a little research. And if there's anything DSP avoids like the plague, it's those two things. This guy could get a $60 cooler and call it a day, but that would require him to solve his problem instead of letting it fester. It's almost a little comforting, almost, that after all these months away, DSP hasn't evolved even a pixel. But let's be real, helplessness only takes you so far. This guy's not just clueless, he's milking his own incompetence for maximum ROI. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing some next level helpless gamer role in the longest running bit we've ever seen.
You're starting to make me think this is some kind of 100-year plan in the making Naruto tier Madara reveal. And that's terrifying.
Fuck, dude, I just realized DSP is that one kid who always pretended to be a girl in MMOs in the early 2000s just to get free stuff from thirsty people. Except he doesn't even need to pretend because his paypics will just bankroll everything this darkspawn brute mother wants.
So I read the readout, I'm like, oh my god, that's insane, because at first I thought 128 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's kind of hot. If it was 128 degrees Fahrenheit, it'd be really hot, but I was like, Celsius? That's even hotter in Celsius, right? That's like, you're in the center of the sun. So I'm thinking, this can't possibly be right, right? So immediately, I start looking up alternate things. I found another program. I run it. Everything's fine. All the processor cores are fine. They're running between like 38 to 45 degrees, which is normal. The GPU is normal. Everything's normal. And I was like, so here's what it is. If I really was a high-end gamer and I had an overclocked PC running at the highest ends, then you absolutely need to have tons of cooling. You need to have all this temperature management. This PC literally just sits here. The CPU encodes the videos. The GPU encodes the streams. That's all it does. It's not overclocked. In fact, it's barely, like right now my CPU is running at 42%. Woo, right? GPU's probably at like 50. So because of that, it's perfectly fine. It's never gonna overheat.
I know we have a lot to get through and I'm sorry to cut him off so much, but this shit right here, this bugs me. First off, he's not only American, but also ignorant, so basically a normal American. So the intricate details of Fahrenheit to Celsius conversions are several orders of magnitude above his pay grade. I suppose I can forgive him for this, regardless of whether I find it detestable in general. However, he then goes on this weird rant about being a high-end gamer and overclocking PC running at the highest ends. Lastly, this is the most Reddit tier bullshit I've ever heard. It's like saying I want a water-cooled PC because it cools better. If DSP can name 5 valid scenarios in which he would ever need to overclock any component in his build, I would concede. However, we all know DSP not only doesn't have the tech literacy to understand what overclocking is or how to do it, but he also doesn't have the knowledge to know how beneficial it would be to him, and that being 0. Simply put, DSP doesn't benefit from overclocking at all because he doesn't know what he's doing at normal clock speeds. It's a literal walk before you run scenario.
It's honestly hilarious to watch DSP approach his PCs overheating like he's trying to disarm a bomb, running through software diagnostics as if this is some complex IT issue. Listen, here's the thing. When your PC is sitting at 128 degrees Celsius, there's usually a very clear culprit, like say, the fans aren't spinning. I mean, a 5-second peek inside the case will likely confirm that, but Phil here is too busy scrambling through software programs he doesn't understand, trying to read temperatures despite his admission that he doesn't know the first thing about what any of this means. This is the same guy who goes on about overclocking, as if he even knows what that entails, let alone why he'd need it. I mean, DSP, the guy who can't make it through a game's tutorial without blaming the controls, suddenly wants us to believe he's on the cusp of becoming a pro-level overclocking gamer? Right, because nothing says cutting-edge performance like rattling off temperatures without the faintest idea of what they mean. It's like he's bypassing every obvious solution so he can keep stumbling along, ensuring he'll need, air quotes, help with a new PC soon enough. There's a type of incompetence that defies logic, and DSP has it in spades. He'll go through every convoluted solution to make it look like he's done all he could, when in reality he hasn't even done the bare minimum.
You know? So I don't have to really worry about it, which is good, because I was like, oh crap, but the fan's dying out now, is this whole thing gonna overheat? But the answer is no. Now, every once in a while, I will keep testing it, just to be sure, but for now, it seems alright, and the truth is, we're definitely at end of life at this point. Okay, we are, like, 10 years, 10 years, there's absolutely no way this thing's gonna be lasting forever. A decade is a long time. This is the longest I've ever used a PC in my life. You know, I'm 42 years old. I've never had a PC for 10 years before, so it's definitely at the end of its life cycle.
Okay, so check this out. I am 8 years younger than DSP, and I've had a computer last for over 10 years. My oldest computer is about 12 years old at this point, still running the motherboard and CPU that came with it and a 1084 GPU. It sits in the living room as my media device that I also sometimes stream games off of. The computer works perfectly fine and runs Linux very smoothly. You know why this computer still works so well? Because the user knows how to take care of it. Will I be running Wukong at 120 FPS and 4K or some shit? Absolutely not. However, I don't have a need for that, and neither does DSP, so in short, his computer is likely completely fine. Get a knock to it for the CPU and maybe replace a fan or two. Do some maintenance on the computer and wait, we're talking about DSP. All he knows is the power button and start streaming on OBS. I feel like what he's doing to his technology is heresy to the Omnissiah. Lex Mechanic save me.
Ah, got it. So DSP is actually talking about his ancient PC, not a new one. Apologies. I mean, it's been a while since I last tuned into the Pigverse, so I'm kind of playing catch up with this never-ending lore. But you know what? Everything Daikun's saying here still holds up. If people can keep vintage cards running in top condition, why can't DSP keep a PC going? Hell, Daikun's got a decade-old rig running Linux without a hitch, streaming games, handling media, all because he maintains it. Meanwhile, DSP's system is barely limping along, and he's acting like it's a miracle that it still boots. But that would be wrong, because we know DSP doesn't even restart nor turn off his computer because he's afraid it won't turn back on again. This is some Warhammer shit, man, where people don't turn off machines because they don't know how to turn them back on again. Oh yeah, I apologize for making that reference, but yeah, you know, the Mechanicus does what the Mechanicus does. A computer can easily last a decade if you treat it right, and this machine of his isn't pushing the boundaries. He's not running VR, he's not rendering 4K footage, he's just streaming himself, ranting, and occasionally giving the audience a first-hand look at his face. God damn it, I just scripted this and I'm just voicing it, it just cracks me up again. Well, regardless, there's no reason it can't handle that. Well, no reason besides DSP's complete disregard for maintenance, that is. And let's be real, DSP takes care of his tech about as well as he does his marriage, or his life in general. From the state of that cluttered, dust-covered setup, it's safe to say his computer is aging faster than his wife. Speaking of, how is Ket holding up these days? I bet that Jasper kitty gets more attention.
How is Ket holding up? Most likely by a crane at this point. I often hear other people mention to leave her out of this, but considering she was a part of his content and actively contributed to the drama in the Snortex, the bitch is fair game and I don't care.
And I'm thinking, you know, we're gonna have to do something, and I already have a couple ideas of what to do. So probably, no lie, probably over the summertime into the fall is gonna be the time to convert over, to move everything over to another computer, okay?
I'm sorry, but what in the absolute fucking goddamn? This dude's missing a few fans and his CPU is a little warm and he wants to toss out the whole box to get a new one. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? This is like pouring a bowl of Frosted Flakes, adding the milk, maybe some pieces of fruit, then you notice one of the flakes is just a little bit browner than the rest, so you just toss out the whole fucking bowl. I mean, David, you do realize computers are modular, right? If one part breaks, you can replace that one part. Jesus Christ, he acts like the fucker is welded together.
The last time DSP had a pre-build was that legendary unboxing video when his PC came out of the box looking like a crushed soda can. It was struggling to run Rage 2 and DSP somehow managed to embody every nightmare customer at Best Buy. The video was a masterclass in why Phil's approach to anything technical is such a wreck. No preparation, zero knowledge about the very things that keep his channel alive, and the stubborn insistence that the problem must be this grand unsolvable mystery. But let's not forget, this guy uses a laptop for streaming. Some poor wheezing device whose machine spirit somehow avoids death out of sheer contempt and the desire to watch its master crash and burn. And like most laptops, it's practically built to keep him from getting in there and messing with the hardware. But here's the thing. You don't give him the benefit of the doubt because Phil's not just unlucky with tech, he's actively uninformed, dismissive of basic maintenance, and manages to turn every minor issue into a catastrophic failure that could only be solved by his loyal wallet warriors.
Wow, I've never been so proud of a Lex Mechanic before now. That wordplay was simply beautiful. It would bring a tear to my eye if I hadn't replaced my tear ducts with ocular lubricants. Regardless, the sentiment is being broadcast throughout the Noosphere as we speak. Praise the Omnissiah!
So, we'll talk about that I'm sure soon, just not today. We don't have time on the podcast, okay?
Then we're all going to collectively swap over to the DSP Reacts channel, where I'm going to do a live react to about the 2-hour showcase called Summer Game Fest. So you can watch the whole thing over on DSP Reacts live with me. Then after it's over, I'm going to do a recap reactions, which essentially is I'm going to be talking to the camera in a separate video where I summarize everything that was at the show and I tell you my opinions on it. That's the kind of video I used to make, but people are dying for the live reaction, so I'm doing both. Now, I'm just going to say this. The live react thing I tried last year didn't really work. I'm telling you, like, it didn't really work at all.
You know, it honestly boggles the mind why people don't want to hear DSP's opinions on things. It's almost like most of his opinions are purely superficial and surface level. It's almost like he's neutered himself to the point of not having any worthwhile opinions on anything unless it's wrestling or food. Regardless, I begrudgingly watched some of his React videos just to see what it was all about, and it's about as insightful and entertaining as his regular videos. That is to say, not at all. Most of the time he's just sitting there, quietly. Then he'll randomly pause to recap what he just saw and most likely criticize the point of the video, then somehow spin the pignosis to make it about him. Yawn.
The days when I did the live reacts, I put in extra work and I ended up having slow days. This year, I'm hoping that's not the case. This year, I'm hoping people will actually show up and hopefully support this effort. If this is the second straight year where it's dead and people don't really care, I'm not doing it anymore. Alright? I'm just being honest. Like they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Okay, there's a bit to unpack here. First off, if you have to constantly remind people to show up and support, this is likely a sign that your viewership and engagement isn't organic. Then again, that would require a sense of self-awareness, and David is still figuring out the complexities of dressing himself, as we can plainly see. Secondly, my guy, you did this for a year and it failed. A fucking year. That would be sign enough to anyone that things are not working out and it's time for change. For PP Burnell, nah son, a year ain't shit. We're going for round 2. Can't wait for the perfect at the end of this match.
Let's not pretend that DSP isn't the reigning king of try the same thing 100 times and expect different results. Every year, it's the same. He dusts off his special events, demand people show up to support them, and then is floored when he's met with crickets. Most people would see a year of slow days and rethink the strategy, maybe change up the content or at the very least look inward for the problem, but not DSP. He's got more stamina for failed ideas than a cockroach in a nuclear apocalypse. And yeah, sometimes it's almost impressive. The guy keeps crawling out of the rubble no matter how many times he nukes his own viewership with low effort, high demand stunts. And I'll admit, there's a tiny part of me that's envious of his shameless persistence. But really, roaches do survive everything. Hyperinflation, plagues, even nuclear fallout. And the last thing I'd ever want to end up is like one of them.
I feel the issue here is the dichotomy between living and surviving. DSP is surviving, that much is apparent, but he's not living. I'll spare you the rant of the fat man locked in a spare bedroom staring at a camera, but this guy is not living his life. Imagine, if you will, to be born on a high world and never see beyond the lower sectors. To never breathe clean air, to never feel the sunlight on your skin, to never visit Terra and lay eyes upon the majesty of the Emperor's creation. Imagine never hearing the buzzing of a servo skull, to never feel the cold blessing of the Omnissiah's steel and circuitry. That is not a life worth living. However, this is a life that DSP will covet. Honestly, I wouldn't even waste the flops on pity at this point.
People have been yelling and saying, please live react, please live react. Okay, I'm gonna do it. But if it doesn't work out this year, I'm done live reacting. I'm just gonna do my old recap reactions like I used to, and I'm gonna stop bending over backwards to do the live stuff when no one seems to care. Alright? But you guys said you wanted it. Alright, so let's see how it goes, okay? Please support the efforts, whether it's this stream here or the stream over on DSP Reacts, doesn't really matter, but as long as you support the stream, please do, okay? Alright, now before people freak out, the reason that we're doing that is very simple. I had a poll up over the course of the week, you know, what game do you guys want to see me do the retro react to next?
Conversely, I have a better idea. Instead of doing your react videos or your old recap reactions, just don't do either. He only had one review that I remember that had any success, and that was Homefront The Revolution. Everything else is just bad. For example, I'm very critical of a lot of things, and I was very critical of Elden Ring. I'll just say it. I don't like it. I think it's too much of a departure from the Souls formula while still trying to retain the Souls formula, if that makes any sense. I think the open world is empty and only serves as a stopwatch between checkpoints. I could go on, but I think I've made my point. Now, contrast this with DSP's review of Elden Ring. He made similar complaints, but he lacks the verbal eloquence to elaborate his thoughts in a concise or, frankly, intelligent manner. He complains about the speed of bosses, but can't articulate why it's an issue. DSP just isn't cut out for this, and you know what, that's fine. The rational thing to do would be to realize your strengths and weaknesses, but in DSP's mind, every weakness is a roadblock put in place by somebody who wants to hurt him, so... I don't know, you make sense of this shit. My cogitators are already on fucking fire.
Hold on, Daikun's got a point here, and I'm gonna jump in and say it outright. Elden Ring is overrated. People practically sprint to praise its strengths while leaving the flaws conveniently in the shadows. I mean, look, I get it, you can like something that's not perfect, and nobody's demanding every game be flawless, but there's a difference between loving a game for what it is and glorifying it as a divine revelation. It's this overblown worship that gets to me, especially when people downplay the very real issues, like empty world spaces, copy-pasted bosses, blatant padding, and other issues. But this is a topic for another video, maybe. Hint, hint.
And by the way, again, hint, hint.
And then there's DSP, somehow landing on a similar opinion, in theory. The guy is waving a flag that says, "Bosses are too fast," without the faintest clue why that would be a problem. He stumbled upon the same observation but has no real understanding of what he's saying, like a guy complaining about a meal but not realizing he ate the garnish instead of the entree. It's almost impressive how he can identify an issue but lacks any real insight into it. Well, maybe it's not entirely unexpected, at least coming from a person who, many games into an iconic franchise, still doesn't fucking understand that the rolls come after you release the button and not when you press it. Another of my pet peeves with this retard is how he always whines that rolls are delayed. Messiah save me. In classic DSP fashion, he just assumes any frustration he feels is a flaw in the game, rather than, maybe his own lack of skill or understanding. Every gripe, every complaint is spun into some grand conspiracy against him. If DSP would take a step back and recognize his limitations, he might actually put out a solid critique now and then. But no. He'd rather cling to his perfect streamer delusion, convinced that every challenge in the game exists purely to mess with him.
And there were 4 options. It was New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Rise of Nightmares, Rayman Origins, and Donkey Kong Country Returns. The poll ran for 3 days, and we had around 300 votes, and Rise of Nightmares was clearly in the lead by like 50%. It was like way the big leader. So then all of a sudden, overnight there's an influx of like 350 votes, and they all voted for Rayman Origins. Bullshit. Those are my trolls. I'm not stupid. They're idiotically left comments. Gee, is this working? Haha, look, we turned the poll. I'm not even kidding you. They're that stupid. They actually left comments on it, saying that they were doing it.
Now see, this is one of those times I would call bullshit and go look for the poll myself. However, if you've ever looked at DSP's community tab, it's a cavalcade of nonsense. Trying to find anything on his community tab is an exercise in futility. Even if this video came out today, I would still hesitate to go find it, but considering we're 4 months out of date, no thanks fellow tech priest, this is an endeavor I will gladly decline.
Ah, I see my fellow tech priest has suggested digging through DSP's community tab to verify this supposed troll conspiracy. Daikun, my friend, I'd sooner traverse the immaterium with a faulty Geller field than sift through that mess. I've been away for a while, but even I know DSP's community tab is where organization goes to die. So no, I think I'll pass on this particular adventure.
Still, however, I don't believe his story. I can believe that there are some people out there who are dumb enough to post that they're doing something malicious, but I don't believe in this coordinated attack on me by the trolls, guys nonsense. We've a better story, Dave. Been hearing this shit for close to 10 years.
Yes, from Don Fanucci saying, why have I been permanently banned? Don Fanucci, you were banned because the other day, as I'm sitting here playing Street Fighter, and obviously when I'm playing Street Fighter, I'm concentrating on the game, you, among other people, decided to come onto my stream and talk about Wings of Redemption being shirtless. I don't give 2 fucks about Wings of Redemption or anyone else being fucking shirtless, you idiot. You want to derail my stream anymore, possibly, go do it somewhere else. It was absolutely ridiculous that you did that. And you were doing it over and over. You weren't even shutting up about it. It's like, I saw you say it once, okay, maybe I'll give him a pass. You're literally sitting here obsessing about a man's boobs. You're talking about them in my chat. I was like, what the fuck is your problem? I'm trying to play Street Fighter with Blanca. I don't give 2 fucks about that guy and what he's doing on his streams. Go, if you want to see that content, good for you, go watch it. You don't talk about it in my chat. So, that's why you're banned. So why don't you think about how stupid you acted the other day? And if you actually want to be unbanned, you can email me later. Not today, because I'm not unbanning you today. Because you're an idiot.
Ah yes, a classic DSP moment. What would a DSP video be without him laying into his own fans? You can practically set your watch by it. The whole thing really highlights his trademark apology fetish, where he puts the burden on the banned viewer to crawl back, confess their sins, and beg for another chance. All of this just because someone made an offhand comment about Wings of Redemption, which is clearly the ultimate betrayal for Phil, rivaling the likes of the Horus Heresy itself. It's almost like DSP can't get through a stream without burning bridges with the same people he just demanded support from a few minutes earlier. Make that make sense.
Honestly, I don't see the point of this vitriolic rant. If you don't care about Wings, don't mention Wings. If you don't care about somebody talking about Wings in the chat, don't engage in the discussion. If you don't want the discussion to happen, let the mods take care of it. What is this toxicity accomplishing for you? Nothing, but further cementing your shitty attitude to the world. Anyway, the rest of the video is just fat ass talking about some Asmongold drama or something, and neither of us give a shit about that, so we're just gonna end it here. We are back and we do have more videos planned, so if you care, press buttons and stuff, and as usual, drink water, praise the Omnissiah, and go touch yourself or something, I don't know. Okay, thanks, bye.